Hello, this is Mark Mazzales with MSU Extension Forestry. I wanted to come today and speak to you about multiple uses of forest land. Things you can do to earn additional income off your property and incorporate into your forest management as well. So a lot of landowners are really interested in these type of topics today. So if you have any questions, here's my contact information. Email is the best way to reach me as well. Why are landowners looking for these alternative uses of forest land? Well, if you look at timber prices over the last 10 to 15 years, they've, for most products, have gone down, both saw timber and pulpwood products as well. One of the reasons why that is we have fewer mills today than we did in the 1990s when prices were so high. The other big component of that is the supply of standing timber. We have a lot more standing timber today than we did in the 90s as well. So let's look at some of the traditional uses. So primarily, forest management included growing trees for timber markets, which may have been pulpwood, chip and saw timber, plywood veneer, poles, or cross ties. Now these timber markets had uses or products being made from each one of these classes. Those were paper and cardboard, construction and building materials, landscaping items, crafts, edible products such as fruits and berries from our trees, or even medical products that are produced from some of the byproducts from different tree species that are grown. Some newer alternative uses that are currently in use or are still being developed as well would be biomass, pellets, fuels such as aviation fuel for airplanes, or vehicle fuel that you and I drive, like the vehicles we drive. New and improved building materials such as insulation that's being made from wood fibers, wood pulp, and larger building materials such as mass plywood panels and cross-laminated timbers that are allowing multiple story buildings to be built out of more wooden products. Looking at some of these, here's a picture of wood pellets. Here's a mass plywood panel, and here's an example of cross-laminated timbers. There are also some alternative uses that are more in the research and development stage, looking at high-end chemicals, taking some of the byproducts of making different common products that we use from wood and using some of the byproducts to make high-end chemicals to replace petroleum or oil in manufacturing of plastics. Using chips on icy roads to help with those slick conditions and make the roads safer to drive on. Vehicle parts, primarily the interior parts, the dash and things like that, being made or incorporating wood products into those as well. These are some things that have become more widespread and used, will be a good benefit for us as forest landowners. What about forgotten uses? Paper bags. As more and more cities and states and companies are getting away from or banning plastic bag use, we should start seeing a resurgence of paper bag usage, hopefully. What about drink containers and cartons? Again, as more and more companies are leaving the plastic usage, they're looking for alternatives. So let's get and promote more of the use of cardboard and paper products to make those containers. The carbon market kind of went away. There's more talks of that coming back and being a bigger use of our forest lands for forest landowners. In bridges, that's one of the things we have a lot of issues with in the state and across the U.S. We can build bridges out of wooden products again, especially for those less used, less traveled roads. Here's just some pictures of containers for drinks, water, and other things as well. So what about some of these really kind of uses that are out there that are really in the beginning stages of research and development? Transparent wood, basically making wood and to where it's being able to see through, helping replace traditional glass windows. Biocoal, making composite materials using some of the byproducts of wood, grinding wood up and using it in plastic or combining it with plastic. Same thing with concrete, taking wood chips that are ground very tiny and infusing it with the concrete to make it stronger. Taking some of the byproducts of the trees that we're growing and making lithium sulfur batteries, and also using some of these byproducts in human and surgical products as well. some of these issues or ideas are still in the infancy stage, but I do think that we'll see more and more of this coming forward in the next several years. So let's talk about some alternative markets and multiple uses of our forest lands that we can use to generate forest income off our property. Here are 3 really good publications that MSU Extension Publications put out. Alternative markets for generating forest income, growing pine needles and timber, and understanding Mississippi agritourism liability laws. There are others as well, but here's some good ones to start that will reference those other publications. So pine straw harvesting, a good way to produce some extra income during certain times of your stand is harvesting that pine straw and selling it to landscaping companies. Agroforestry, so you see here, are alley cropping, which is basically having your trees spaced a little bit further apart and growing row crops underneath that. Silvopasture, kind of the same mindset, but you're running cattle or livestock through and underneath the forest stands as well. Christmas tree farming is another activity, alternative market that can be very beneficial for you as a forest landowner. So if you have any type of buildings on your property that could be renovated or updated, you could do a bed and breakfast or an Airbnb. A lot of people are looking for that type of getaway now, moving away from staying in hotels and staying on rural properties and experiencing nature around them as well. Also, companies are looking for retreat venues to take their employees to get away from the job and reconnect with each other. A wedding venue is another really good avenue to generate additional income. If you have an area that could be used for outdoor weddings, that's a huge market for that now. Same thing with photography. If you have some very scenic landscape areas on your property, photographers are looking for those type of areas to take pictures and are willing to pay you as a landowner a little fee to do that as well. So recreation is probably the biggest one we can all take advantage of, whether it's hunting leases on an annual basis or a seasonal basis or even on a daily basis. Other recreational activities are bird watching or wildlife watching. Any type of trails you have could be incorporated for biking, hiking trails, horseback riding, or ATV riders. Camping, if you have areas that you can develop some camping sites, that's another way to produce additional income. Any type of tourism, whether it's agritourism, heritage tourism, that could be incorporated in your area or on your property, is another source of income. And then, of course, there are others that you could incorporate as well. So there are a lot of considerations that we need to think about when we're doing this. What are the trade-offs? If I'm managing for wildlife and timber management, how am I going to incorporate both of those? What are the costs associated with incorporating these alternative uses? What type of marketing do I need to do to promote these businesses, to get people to come do these activities on my property? If you're having more people coming on your property, you're giving up some of your privacy issue. The other thing is, when you're having people on your lands, is what is your liability? Do you need to have additional liability coverage to protect yourself from any accidents that may happen? What about the work? Who does it? Are you doing it? Are your spouse and kids helping you? Or are you hiring someone to do that? So anytime you're incorporating business into your property and your management, you need to have a plan to do that as well. So these are all things you need to take into consideration. The Natural Resources Enterprise Program at Mississippi State is a great source of information. They have a lot of publications on their website, which you see listed here. They also do webinars and workshops throughout the year. They have a session coming up later in February that deals with hunting lease establishment, legal considerations, the social media marketing, farm bill programs, and how to draft that business plan. So that's a great source of information as well. And hopefully this just gives you some ideas on alternative markets and uses of your forest land that can help generate additional income. Here's my contact information and how to follow us on different social media outlets. If you have questions or comments, please contact us. Thank you.